Keir Starmer has declared recognition of a Palestinian state, and the populist right gnashes its teeth once more. The same men who paraded last week in their Unite the Kingdom carnival, proclaiming themselves guardians of indigenous sovereignty against invasion, now rage at the Prime Minister for daring to elevate the UK's commitment to a two-state solution. Katie Hopkins, Lawrence Fox, Nigel Farage, all the same faces, all chant in unison that recognising Palestine is, apparently, rewarding Hamas for terrorism. Observe the trick here, that sovereignty is only sacred when it's ours and it's profane when it belongs to another people. Their principle, if one dares to call it that, is this. Indigenous sovereignty may be denied, but if its bearers resist empire by violence. And by such logic, the recognition of the Irish Republic was nothing but a trophy to the IRA, or the French Republic just a medal for blood-drunk revolutionaries. Even the United Kingdom itself, a monument raised on imperial slaughter, slavery and genocide. But the principle is a thin cloak for resentment, and the right in Britain wears it only when convenient. Then Tommy Robinson with his conjurer's number. 90% of Britons oppose recognition, he says. A thunderous statistic, maybe, but it's not true. What the polls actually do reveal, if you look at YouGov, is that 90% reject unconditional recognition. In fact, 44% of us support recognition when tied to conditions, and a mere 13% oppose recognition altogether. And for Starmer, did he, as his enemies declare, reward Hamas and spit in the eye of British opinion? Well, his speech says otherwise. Recognition is bound to the exclusion of Hamas, i.e. no role in government, no role in security. It requires a ceasefire and a two-state solution, reforms in Palestinian governance. The supposed betrayal collapses into smoke. Only those who feed on outrage pretend otherwise. Of course, for the actual living human beings in Palestine and Israel, this means very little. Missiles are still being fired, civilian buildings are still being hit, and people are still dying. As for Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, forgetting his authority ultimately relies on an outside approval, thunders that there will be no Palestinian state. Effectively, he declares that the Israeli government is not interested in the two-state solution. He wants it all, and unlike with any tyrant who wants it all, sometimes asking nicely just isn't enough. Meanwhile, the right in the UK busies itself with another spectacle. 2 West Midlands police officers knock at a family's door, investigating a fake account sending indecent images of children. Yet, online, the chatter circles not around child safety, but on the cloth around an officer's head. A hijab becomes a centrepiece of suspicion. Police are harassing us for looking at a post becomes a slogan. Obviously reversed for skin of those involved, and the narrative would promptly reverse maybe back to a concern about child safety. Here again, the herd sniffs for offence, gorges on resentment to build its own double standards. And then we had Trump's visit. Once, such a state occasion would have lit the air with drama. Now, indifference reigns. The usual protests thundered into the void, but the King and President exchanged ghost-written flatteries, a promise of £150 billion worth of investment, and perhaps it might come to pass, perhaps it might not. The thing is, though, Starmer manages these pageantries with deliberate dullness, and dullness in politics is sometimes wisdom. One curious fact is that the UK's announcement of Palestinian recognition came not amid or before Trump's visit, but only after he had landed back in Washington. So much for special relationships. On the 22nd of September, France too recognised Palestine, joined by Canada, Australia, Portugal. However, Germany remains absent, maybe true to form, weighed down by its history. But the drift is clear. The United Kingdom, which was once chained to Washington's orbit for a while, leans back again towards Europe, even as it negotiates trade on its own terms. Starmer plays a clever game here, but it's not a hidden one. Anyone not named Trump can see the pieces on the board. And so the British right prepares its countermove, but this time human lives in Gaza and Israel are the pawns. They seek another Brexit fantasy, a break from Europe, a deeper dependence on America, and with it the seepage of America's political toxins into our own cultural bloodstream. Who gains from such a dependency? Well, it's the very same faces, isn't it? Farage, Hopkins, Robinson, Fox, the apostles of hate and resentment, who forever cry sovereignty while kneeling before empire. The merry-go-round is eternal. What matters is just how many people are on board.